Feed Africa is one of the African Development Bank's most ambitious programs. Launched in 2015, it aims to invest $24 billion into African agriculture over a 10-year period and, vitally, to develop agricultural value chains, or AVCs. The bank's Independent Development Evaluation Department, or IDEV, assessed the relevance, effectiveness, inclusiveness and long-term sustainability of the bank's support for AVC development across 9 African nations. Rwanda is one of the countries benefiting from the African Development Bank's Feed Africa program that was evaluated by IDEV. Livestock farmer Gervais Uzabakihiro is 46 years old, married with 4 children. His cow's milk production has won him national recognition, and yet he only took up farming when he was 28. I started my work in 2001. There was a program to assist poor people in need, and I was one of them. Since I was an orphan and the oldest, I was responsible for my family. I couldn't finish school. In 2001, I met some sponsors who were assisting poor people. They gave me one cow that was pregnant at that time. The cow produced twins just after 1 month. So my cows kept growing in numbers, from just 1 cow in 2001 to 30 cows today. It was financial support from the African Development Bank through its One Cow, One Family program that set Gervais on his way. The program was almost too successful. The volume of milk produced has, in some instances, overtaken the capacity to process and transport it.
If the One Cow, One Family program is to keep going, we would like an extended number of milk collection centers and have our own factory to process all the milk from farmers, because moving the milk every day is still a challenge and one of the causes of the quality suffering.
Before looking at how IDEV evaluated the African Development Bank's $4.2 billion support program to AVC development, let's first consider what exactly is an agricultural value chain. An agricultural value chain defines the actors and activities that bring a product from the field to the dinner plate. At each stage, value is added to the product. A value chain links various independent business organizations and can involve food production, transport, processing, packaging and storage, distribution, to final consumption.
The purpose of this evaluation is to provide lesson experience for the implementation of the new strategy of the bank on Feed Africa. At the time of the evaluation, Feed Africa was just approved, so it was not fully implemented. So for this purpose, our evaluation focuses mainly on lesson learning.
Liberia is a nation still recovering from a bitter and bloody civil war. Here, the AfDB strategy is to support the country's recovery and to focus on inclusiveness and agricultural development.
And most of the women now personally we are working with are women that they don't have men, they don't have husband, so they have to work to be able to sustain themselves and send their children to school. The bank program, just what was brought here is what we really needed at the time.
The Women of Destiny, as its name might suggest, brings together smallholder female farmers. With guidance from the bank's experts and investment from both private and public sectors, these women today are hoping to determine their long-term future through their own efforts of processing cassava and other crops into flour. But it was a slow start.
When IDEV went and took a look at this project, what IDEV told us was that indeed the project was a very good project, but there was a delay in implementation. The processing centers that the women were supposed to have done were not there. Immediately, the bank moved very quickly. We contacted the government and we told them that this is not acceptable. But I'm happy to say today, 6 of the 8 processing plants have been built and installed in Liberia. Women are now being able to process cassava they harvest into flour.
In Bentol City, the Liberian Women of Destiny have set their sights even further afield. Marketing their flour abroad will need better infrastructure and equipment.
We need transportation to be able to get the goods from the farmers to the factory. We also need packaging machine, packaging equipment, so that when we process the product, we'll be able to package it, to do improved packaging. At the end of the day, we'll be able to do exporting, because we don't want to be limited to Liberia. We want to export in other countries.
What we wish is a continuous support for us to reach more goals. We would use other equipment like milk measuring tools, antibiotics. At the moment, we only use basic measuring methods. It's still a challenge for us.
Flour, milk, markets home or abroad, from poverty reduction and increased food security to sustained benefits and profitability, all factors in a value chain supported by the AfDB and a cornerstone of its Feed Africa strategy. In its evaluation, IDEV identified 5 fundamentals and 5 enablers that characterize successful agricultural value chain development.
Under fundamentals, we have 5 elements. So the first one is analyzing the full value chain. The second is we have to focus on profitability throughout the value chain. The third is about being responsiveness to the market. The fourth one is about inclusivity. The final one is on keeping the sustainable impact. So the 5 enablers for agricultural value chains these are enablers that has to be provided by the bank as well as other development partner. So the first one is infrastructure and ICT. The second one is on access to finance. The third one is in providing the conducive policy as well as regulatory environment for value chain actor. And the fourth one is on providing appropriate business support for the farmer particularly. The last one is on the promoting private sector participation as well as collaboration among value chain actors.
The evaluation found that while most of the fundamentals and enablers of an agricultural value chain had been integrated in the AfDB's Feed Africa portfolio, others needed strengthening. Inclusivity, for example, was largely driven by pressure to attain quotas of young people and women in project interventions. Amongst the enablers for AVC development, the appraisal shows the most effective support is in relation to infrastructure and the appropriate financing, where it has been supported. Sustainability is uncertain, constrained mostly by insufficient ownership and limited practical uses of the facilities delivered. One improvement was to make the value chain more relevant by incorporating its whole structure and design into the planning of any new agricultural project, especially in regard to market responsiveness and profitability. The African Development Bank's Feed Africa program is a work in progress, and some lessons have been learnt through the implementation of agricultural value chains which, as the IDEV evaluation highlighted, remain underexploited and underdeveloped in many African countries. To sum up some of those lessons, number 1, comprehensive AVCD analysis in project design and its subsequent adaptation during implementation is critical. Lesson 2, profitability focus is essential throughout the entire value chain. Lesson 3, effective AVCD interventions require realistic planning that takes into account appropriateness of scope and sequencing of activities. Lesson 4, deliberate, concerted and targeted efforts at all stages of AVC design and implementation are essential to ensure inclusiveness. And Lesson 5, sustained benefit from AVCD interventions requires a comprehensive package of support that ensures partnerships with the private sector, the government and other development actors. Côte d'Ivoire is the world's largest producer of cocoa, and Christine Manzan was named Best Cocoa Producer in the country 2 years running, a title made possible by a cooperative work structure and support from the African Development Bank, in particular for infrastructure. A bridge was built across a river that had previously prevented the timely transportation of cocoa and cocoa byproducts to markets in the cities.
Ça m'a aidé très bien parce que les ponts là n'étaient pas faits.
It really helped me a lot because the bridge wasn't there before.
Le camion ne pouvait pas partir. Des fois,
and the trucks could not get through.
En route, qu'on pousse.
It was not just about infrastructure, it was output and quality too, all through a value chain project with Sucden, Côte d'Ivoire's agricultural commodities program.
The bank gave $8 million to Sucden, and with that money, Sucden was able to provide credit to the cooperatives of small buyers to the farmers credits so that they can supply cocoa at the right quality. But most importantly, they were able to provide 20 of the cooperatives drying facilities to dry the cocoa so it be of good quality. They provided them 20 kits to be able to test the moisture, test the size, very important parameters for cocoa. And also they provided training. So, the target was to increase their export from 140,000 tons to 600,000 tons. That was achieved.
Africa lags behind the rest of the world in terms of food production, crop yields, and farmers' earnings. The evaluation proposes 6 overarching recommendations to strengthen the bank's approach to AVCD for the Feed Africa strategy. 1. Build a coherent and consistent approach to AVCD across bank operations. 2. Build AVCD analytical and implementation capabilities. 3. Focus AVCD interventions on adding value and achieving sustainable impact. 4. Work with partners, especially the private sector, to strengthen strategic and operational approaches to AVCD. 5. Take affirmative action to ensure inclusiveness. And 6. Strengthen policy dialogue to enhance a conducive AVCD environment.
It is extremely important for management to take those recommendations that have been made by IDEV, accept them, and put in place a plan to actually implement the recommendation.
Efficient agricultural value chains create competitiveness and can speed up industrialization, wealth creation, and most importantly for Africa, food security, for a continent that strives to fulfill its ambitions and potential.